I just pray for our nerves, and I thank you that, man, Chris has given me this opportunity. What a awesome experience this is going to be. I'm excited about this. The place looks awesome. He's doing a great job, and just thankful for this opportunity, and just let our nerves be at ease. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
We're good, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was an intro prayer from Jericho Stone, and you are listening to Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, Chris Shrum, and today's going to be a little bit different than normal. Mr. Stone does not drink beer, but that's okay. He actually has an iced coffee that he said he has not had until today. So, Jericho, I'm going to throw it over to you. Introduce yourself.
Yes.
And tell us what you're drinking on and what you got going.
My name is Jericho Stone. I live outside of Nashville now. I'm originally from Florida, and I'm excited to be a part of this show today. But yeah, I got here kind of early, and I was like, you know what, I need coffee. But you know when you put coffee near me, I was like, I do not want to go downtown for any coffee.
Right,
So,
especially right now.
Yeah, and then one coffee shop showed up, the Jonas Brothers' favorite coffee shop in Nashville, and I was like, I don't know, man. So Dutch Brothers was something I've heard before a lot, the name.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to try Dutch Brothers. So I got, this is my go-to, iced coffee, Splenda, heavy whipping cream. Have you ever used heavy whipping cream?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm spoiled with that, you know what I mean? And then 4 Splenda and a shot of espresso. And man, I'm pretty impressed with Dutch Brothers. I'm always looking for an alternative, you know what I mean? When you find something you like and you're like, man, there's got to be something just as good or better. So yeah, I'm impressed.
Well, I'll tell you just a little side note. I noticed you brought that
Yes.
Coke with you as well. What you may want to do is next time you get that coffee, ask for either light ice, very light ice, or no ice, and take that Coke and pour it in there and put a straw in it. Just kind of shake it up a little bit to let everything blend.
Yeah.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you, I think you are going to be super...
No way.
I'm telling you,
No way.
I know you're enjoying that right now,
Yeah.
but to be honest with you, when you get it down to about where the B is on the side of the cup, why don't you pour a little bit of that Coke in that? You don't have a straw, do you?
No, but
And
you
well,
can just
you know
do
what?
a little shake.
Yeah, it may work. Just, hey, give it a shot. I mean, you might like it. You might say, dude, that was the worst thing you could have done. You ruined my coffee. I don't know, but... I don't know.
Did you ever try the Coke coffee they did for a little bit?
I tried one. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with it was I kind of expected more Coke out of it.
And the Coke kind of tasted flat too, I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with me, if I'm getting Coke in a can, I think honestly, subconsciously, I'm looking for more of the carbonation.
Yeah.
Than I am anything else.
Right.
And you're right. It tasted flat, and the flavors just didn't. I don't know. They didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really impressed with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think if you drink it down to the B, pour a little bit of that Coke in there, and I don't know, man. If you don't like it, you can blame me and tell me I have poor taste. I'm okay with that. It is what it is. But I'm glad I finally was able to get you on. I've been listening to a lot of your stuff for a little while. I've been, following you on social media, consuming everything out there that I can find on you. But for those who don't know anything about you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of who are you? Yeah. I think even your fans that hopefully will watch this video, listen to this podcast, they already know some about you, but who are you that, your fans don't know? Who are you that new fans need to know?
Yeah. No, that's good. I always say like my music style is reggae, country, gospel, and rap. If those four came together, and those are probably my most influential music. Growing up, um, and I did like some rock, of course, but I love those four types of music. My mom raised me on gospel music. My grandfather raised me on traditional country. My dad liked reggae, and then, of course, I found rap, hip hop on my own, and ran with it. But yeah, man, it's just a blend of music, and I've always I've learned this that um, I've been doing this music thing for a while, and with labels, they say, well, we need you to stick to one genre, but sometimes our
Yes.
weakness is our greatest power. You know what I mean? Because we don't sound like everybody else. We don't, We don't conform. So I'm like, that's cool, but I don't want to just do this. This is, you know what I mean? I want to do what I want to do.
Right.
And I want to make music how I want to make music. Maybe one day I feel sad and I want to write a sad song. Maybe one day I feel good. I want to think about the beach and do a reggae song, whatever it may be. Um, yeah, I love music, and I think I feel like traditional music is more close to me, whether it's country, hip hop. I feel like new music doesn't hit me as hard as it used to.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because the way we're programmed now is with social media, how everything's so fast paced. And I feel like when we grew up, we might have got a record or a CD, and maybe you didn't like one song on there, but when you listen to your CD over and over, you're like, man, I kind of like this song, or what I mean. You start liking it, but now we don't get that chance. Everything's consumed so fast, and but yeah, man, I want to write music that connects with me, and most of the music that I write is either about me or someone I know, and I'm just telling stories in some way, shape, form.
Well, I ask each artist this, and I do it more for myself. And generally, artists don't like this question, but if you had to put yourself in a certain genre or put yourself in a box to, appeal to the masses, where would you be? What genre would you say all your music fits into?
Before I would have said probably rap or hip hop,
Yeah.
but it's changing so much now. But I guess it could all be some form of hip hop, I guess you could say.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean
Yeah.
that's fair. If you would ask me what genre I thought you belonged in, out of everything I've listened to, I would probably say, at least from a consumer standpoint, that kind of seems to be your strong point.
Yeah.
And I've listened to your songs and I've tried to break them down. Say, okay, other than hip hop, where could this song fit into a different genre? Maybe throw this song in that genre to kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a little bit different.
Right.
And I do see the gospel influence, which I really do appreciate.
Sure.
There's not, at least here in Nashville, there's not a lot of folks doing music that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of people, it kind of seems like people lose themselves.
Yeah.
Once they, enter the scene in Nashville. People are, promoters, managers, people who these new artists look up to.
Sure.
Say, okay, you need to kind of define yourself, and you need to kind of, do this and that. And I think that's not fair. And I've always thought that way.
Yeah.
You as a business person are telling a musician, an artist, a creative, that they have to water down
Yeah.
what they're doing to sell records, CDs,
Yeah.
you know, to get streams, however people consume music these days. And at least what I've seen from you, it kind of seems like you're not going to conform. You're just going to do what feels right to you.
Right. I think I always compare the music business. Growing up, I loved wrestling.
Right.
Did you like wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I loved wrestling. And I feel like, you know, when they would say The Undertaker or whoever, that's their gimmick, you know, he's portraying a guy that's a dead guy or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the music business is full of gimmicks. And there's few people that are genuine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and when I say that, it's like you said, a record's that, oh, well, I know you're this, but we want you to be this. And then they try to conform someone to this. It's really not who they were meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they do it to play by the rules, and, you know, they want success. Everybody wants success, especially in music. But labels can be very heartbreaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they will conform you or shut you down, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing for artists. I don't know if you're familiar with Adam Calhoun.
Not off the top of my head.
Adam Calhoun, there's Hard Target, there's a bunch of Savannah Dexter. They're independent artists that do very, very well number-wise. Demon Jones. There's a bunch of people. I could keep going on and on. But anyways, labels can't shut them down because labels didn't create them. You know what I mean? I think it's dangerous when a label creates you because when they're done, they flip a switch, you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's politics in a way, you know what I mean? And when they're done, when they say you're done, you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very weird. But when you're able to do this on your own, they can't really shut you down. You've really got a fan base that's really behind you, that's really for you. No fake numbers, none of this stuff. It's legit, and they're behind you. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Well, do you feel that your fan base is strong, and your fan base is, promoting your music is? I don't want to say giving you the clicks, but I guess in today's world, do you feel like you're getting your, the clicks and the views and the things from your fan base?
So I'm going to be real honest on this.
Of course.
100% honest with this. No. Here's what I feel like the problem with myself is. My whole life, I've never fit in anywhere. It's like growing up, I was too worldly for the church. I was too churchy for the world with my music. I'm too country for rap. I'm too rap for country. I'm too, you know what I mean? It's like I've never really fit in. And I'm okay with that. Now, the fans I do have are loyal. And I'm driven. And I think that you can be someone that is super talented, right? But there's a lot of talented people that are not driven. So they go by the wayside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're driven and you push with all your heart with something, it's going to succeed one way or another if you do not stop. It's just like with Michael Jordan. There's people in New York, in the Bronx, that can play insane basketball, but they're not driven to do that. You know what I mean? They got a lot of other things going on. And so I keep pushing, and I build this thing brick by brick. I didn't build a house in a day. I'm building this thing brick by brick by brick by brick, and slowly the house is forming. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I noticed compared to a lot of people that I've interviewed, your YouTube content is a lot higher than you have more videos, you have more, shorts, things like that than a lot of people I interview. And before I sat down with you, and even at this point, it seems like you got, I'm not going to say, well, it seems like you have people behind you that have different skills.
Yeah.
People who maybe not necessarily music video producers, but people who have skill enough to be able to shoot a music video. People who, can find the right light, can find the right background, who say, man, based on what you're wearing, or, wear this, and we're going to be here, and we're going to do. I did some modeling years ago when I was younger, and I kind of know what it's like behind the scenes as far as shooting and stuff like that. But it seems like you have somebody or a group of people that kind of point you in the right direction to make your videos look pretty well produced. I mean, for somebody who's not on a label.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'll break this down for you to explain the music videos. Okay. So I used to be signed to a Christian label. I'll get into that. One of the worst experiences of my life. I will circle back to that.
Okay.
Okay. And then I was with the band Rehab right after that. Rehab's a multi-platinum selling band, millions of albums. I think it's triple platinum now. Their song's sitting at a bar. Then I left there and I went to another label, and Redneck Nation, and they gave me all those videos that you see on my, it's like Dope Boy Country, Rollin', all those things, Death by Denial. That one cost a little bit more with the alligators.
Yeah.
We were really with alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at Gator Ramen. I always got to plug Gator Ramen. That was a cool experience. I did end up getting salmonella poisoning from the alligators.
Really?
Oh, I got so sick the next day. Like, dude, I was deathly sick. But I was in that pool with those alligators for, probably 8 hours shooting, over. And I ended up, I was handling them. I didn't know about salmonella with alligators. Anyways, got real sick. But most of those videos, I'm not trying to throw anybody under a bus. The people that shot the videos. Okay, we'll say back then, I shot all those videos for under $1,000.
Including the set,
everything except for with Roland. They rented that car for me, which was I can't remember,
Camaro.
Yeah, $1,000, and then the alligator set cost more money because that was an actual park that was actually doing. You know what I mean? So we had to, but everything else, I've always tried. My mom's taught me. She's like, if you got to go to work and you don't have a car, walk, ride a skateboard, ride a bicycle. You know what I mean? And that's always stuck with me through life. Is like, okay, I've only got this much money. I've got to make what I have work, And just like, did you see the Hal and Hank video where it looked like the police pulled me over?
Yeah.
We just shot that on a GoPro. And I love that video because I was like, I want it to look like I'm really getting pulled over. And I had my buddy just put a GoPro on his chest, and that's how we shot the video. And it looks like, one of those
police body cam. Yeah.
And so I try to work with what I have. And when I do have some money for a bigger budget, we use it. But when I don't, I'm like, I got it. Pow, pow. We shot that at my house,
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we'll make this work however we can. And so all those videos that were shot in Florida, that was done by Randy, Brick Studios. So I love Randy, and I always try to shout out people that's helped me out.
Oh, absolutely.
And Bobby and Laura that did Redneck Nation, and gave me the budget to do all that stuff. And then with the new stuff, Frank Thompson, he's an artist too. He shot Pow Pow and What Would Mama Say, and I'm hoping he can shoot some more. But I love shooting music videos. It's one of my favorite parts. Besides watching it back and picking myself apart. You ever do that?
Absolutely.
I'm the worst, dude.
Yeah. I've been in my fair share of. I've been an extra. I haven't been primary.
I used to do extra work,
but I've been an extra in numerous videos, and once videos by the end of like either one solid 12-hour day of shooting or two. Man, this one video, we shot 12 hours, 2 days, so 24 hours. Wow. I was to the point, I'm like, I hate this song because I've heard it continuously. But when I left after the second day and they said, okay, we're done. You don't need to come back, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was just itching. I would watch, before I did the modeling thing, I watched CMT religiously.
Yeah.
And once I saw myself in a couple of videos, I quit watching videos. I don't know what the deal was, but you know, when they would say, it's been so long, but it's basically, you know, so-and-so's video is going to be out in a month.
Yeah.
I would just count down the days. I'm like, I'm going to find myself. And then I find myself in those videos and I'm just like, oh, okay, I need to do this next time. I need to do that. I'm blah, 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 blah. And then watch it 2 or 3 times. Like, all right, I'm never going to watch that again. And, you know, and maybe you feel the same way. You kind of start looking at, okay, if someone's going to pick this apart, what are they going to pick apart so that I can fix that next time?
Well, too, once you've been an extra, did you ever do television? Or music? You did music videos?
Music videos, commercials, you know, stuff that was recorded. I never did anything.
For instance, commercials, because we did a bunch of stuff. We used to live in Florida. There is so much standing around and waiting and doing absolutely nothing. People have no idea. For a 3-minute video, you're sitting there for hours and just waiting for them to say, all right, we need you 4 in here for this, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. So now when I watch movies, my mind is going, I'm looking at the extras. I'm seeing if they're like, you know, they tell you never stare in the camera, never do this or that. And I'm just watching. I'm looking for little mistakes they made, but that's just my brain now because I was part of it. And I look for flaws in the set on TV, you know, things like that, which is just a weird thing to do. But yeah, everybody's their own
worst critic.
Oh yeah, dude. Of course, yeah. So it's natural.
Well, I think as a creative, and I say this based off of talking to musicians. I myself am not creative, but I think creatives are their own worst enemy because they want to do better. Everything they do, they feel like I need to. If I made this music video, you know, my buddy shot it on this little rinky camera he had. Mm-hmm. But when they see that video, they're like, you know what? My next video is going to be upgraded, going to be somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody with a better camera, somebody who can. So I need to be ready for that video. I need to be ready to be able to turn into what they want me to be. Mm-hmm. You know, in this scene, you need to be very dramatic in all your movement, you know, and a creative always wants to get better at everything.
Sure.
When it comes to their art.
Yeah.
You know, the music and the videos, commercials, shorts on YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that. It seems like the artist is always looking for what will promote them. Which, as an indie artist, you know, somebody who's not signed, right? You got to promote yourself, all the time, you know. And for you, how? I mean, is it easy? Is it difficult?
No, it's. Let's say me and you both had, both of us had a pressure washing business. Okay.
All right.
It would be so much easier. This is my personality, for me to brag on you and go, man, you got to check out he's the best at what he does. But for me to go to someone's house and go, man, I'm the best at what I do. It's so difficult for me to talk good about myself. I don't know why. It's just like that. It's hard for me. Like I feel like I would be one of the best managers in the world because I can build someone up like crazy. But it's so hard for me to do that to myself. I don't know why.
Well, do you feel like maybe do you feel like, I don't know, and I don't want to say not good enough because that's not fair. But I noticed that people who will talk about other people and give other people props, but never talk about themselves, even though they're talented, even though they're possibly better than the person they're talking about. But when you, I guess when you try to, or when you tell them to try to promote themselves, look, man, talk up your own art, talk up,
Yeah.
you know, you're a hell of a guitar player.
Yeah.
Why don't you ever say anything? Well, you know, because that's, no, all your songs, you're the one playing the guitar.
Yeah.
But you don't promote yourself as a guitar player. You promote yourself as, oh, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Well, you're a writer, a singer, an instrumentalist. You know, promote yourself. Do you find yourself to be an introvert or an extrovert?
So I can meet anybody and become friends. You know, like I can go to the store and talk to someone. I think I have a real hard time with people that brag on themselves or boast themselves.
Right.
What is the word? Pride. It's just I know people like that want to talk about themselves constantly. It's bizarre to me. Like, it's really weird. So I think I'm so, like, I don't want to be like that I back away, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think of how can I promote myself without constantly, I don't want it to be bragging. Like, for instance, when I was Redneck Nation, they bought me 2 billboards downtown I had 2 billboards. I was able to brag on that because they did that for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I took pictures down there and all.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my kids were so excited, dude. And so that was really cool. But I was able to brag in a way through them. You know what I mean? And so I just try to be humble. And I have no issue with my music. I think I put out great music and great quality music, and maybe my music's not for everybody, and that's okay because there's some people in the world that don't like Rolling Stones or, you know, everybody's got a taste. That's the beautiful thing about music is everybody's got a taste in music. And I think my quality of music is great, and I think I do a great job. It's just hard for me to get out there and really brag on myself. I don't know. It's hard, dude.
Well, I understand. I really do. With this podcast, you know, it's difficult for me to, even though it does get put on all the platforms, it's hard for me to promote these podcasts, even when I'm talking to my closest of friends.
Yeah.
You know, I don't tell them, hey, you know, my latest podcast is going to be out tomorrow morning.
Sure.
What I do is I'll let you know
Yeah.
when I know, and the other artists that I've interviewed, I'll let them know. And to be quite honest with you, it's like, hey, everybody, it's coming out, or I look online and I see it, and then I'll hit y'all up and say, hey, everybody, it's out.
Yeah.
And I'll watch it, and like you, I'll critique myself to the point of, I'm never watching this again.
Yeah, I want to quit the next week.
I need to move on to the next one. I need to do this better. And I start, you know, I get in my own head about that. And I think that is my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Do you feel maybe that you are your own worst enemy?
I do, because I've had people come to me and be like, yeah, I don't like this about myself. And I'm like, I would have never noticed that. You know what I mean? And it's the same way with us. People don't notice what we notice, but we critique ourselves so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's just natural, but I definitely share my music. I definitely put it out. I definitely tell people, but there's so much more that I could, you know, do with that. But I'm always like, man, I wish I had one person that just believed wholeheartedly in me, because that can change your life if you got one person that believes in you. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Do you not think that?
Well, I'm saying like a manager wise.
Oh,
Yeah, like
okay.
someone a manager wise that could really like, you know, let's get it. You know what I mean?
Somebody who knows how to promote and
Sure.
go out
Yeah.
there and tick all the boxes and get everything. Is that is that what you're looking for? Or are you kind of looking? I asked that, and basically it's going to circle around to what is your ultimate goal? What is the top of the mountain for you when it comes to your music?
So I love touring. I love doing shows. I love seeing people at shows. I love hanging out with people at shows. The last show I did was in North Carolina, and it was a festival. It was it's not ringing a bell right now, but anyways, it was an amazing festival. There was tons of artists there, tons of people there, and I really enjoy after the show, before the show, hanging out with people in the crowd and talking to them. I just really love it. And then when I put on a show, I try to, like, people have spent their hard money to get here. Let's have fun. Let's give them a fun time. Let's take their mind off work. Let's take their mind off, whatever they're going through, and let's have a blast. And that's what I try to do. I'm not saying I always succeed at that. I hope I do. But yeah, I love doing shows, and I want the music to make more money financially, to where that's what I could really, focus on full time as well. And I did focus on it full time for a long period of time, and I was fine. But I have children now, and I'm like, I can't be so selfish. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta, there's got to be a balance here. So, but I've been blessed to be able to do music and do shows and tour, and so I consider myself really blessed to be able to do that.
Okay, well, most artists that I've interviewed on camera, off camera, very, meeting people downtown, I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I'll talk to these posters on the wall if I think they're listening,
Yeah.
I'll talk to anybody. And I've talked to so many artists, playing in these restaurants, bars, stuff like that. And I get a few drinks in me. I really kind of dig deep into some of the questions, and because I want to know is the reason I'm asking. And a lot of them say the same thing. They're like, if I could take my music in whatever form it is, writing, singing, playing instruments, being in a band, being my own band, if I could make enough money to pay my bills and not have to have another job.
Yeah.
That is the top of the mountain for me. They're not greedy saying, "Oh, I want my own jet, my own tour bus. I want people who answer my phone for me.
Right.
I don't want to do anything but be on stage and be out in front of the camera." And it seems like everybody's like, you know what? If my art could pay the bills, and I could focus solely on that, and know that my family is taken care of, rent's paid, mortgage, whatever.
Yeah.
And to me, I like that answer better than, the top of the mountain for me is, touring the United States and Europe and a world tour with 14 buses and 17 prop trucks. And it's like, that's mighty hefty goal. You need to get started right now, but I think this just me, the true artist is the one that says, you know what, if what I create touches people the way it touches me,
right,
and I can make them happy, I can take their mind off, I can give them what they've paid for.
Right.
That is the top of the mountain, at least for now.
Yeah.
For me, and based off what you just said and what other artists say, you do have lofty goals.
Yeah.
because you seem to want to push harder.
Yeah.
So pushing harder, you know, is a lofty goal.
Right.
And that's what I like about independent artists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems everybody almost wants to be signed, but they're not sure that they want to be signed, and they kind of like where they're at, but they would like, you know, and I mean,
I could care. I don't want to be signed. I'll tell you that. I've had that experience, and I do not ever want it again. But you know, before COVID, I was able. That's the hard part. Is I provided for my family by touring and did really well, really, really well. And then COVID happened, and it destroyed it. You know.
yeah,
And never really got back like it was. So I've been down, up, down. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've experienced it all, and but yeah, no. So talk about a label. When I say the Christian label that I was with, it really put a bad taste in my mouth for multiple reasons. But one is, I tell people like this: the music industry, whether it's Christian, whether it's hip hop, whether it's rock, whatever it is, I always say it's like this, and this is the way I thought it was with Christian music. It's growing up, we kind of had a little weird childhood, you know. Just we had parents got a divorce, you know what I'm saying. We had turmoil in our home,
yeah,
and you go to a friend's house, and you're like, man, they got or see a kid at school. I bet they got the perfect life. You know what I mean? Like their parents are together, but then you go stay the night over there, and the mom and dad are fighting all the time. And you're like, whoa, this isn't the house I thought it was.
yeah,
And I felt like that with the Christian industry. It was like I was looking through the window, and I was like, oh man, this looks beautiful. And then I lived in the house, and I was like, no, this is not beautiful. This is a messed up house. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it was very strange with that album. I had some very serious songs, and I had some fun songs. And I remember a Christian magazine wrote an article on my album and said, I just went by Jericho at the time, and they said, yeah, Jericho's music's good, but it's too honest. I'm like, how can you be too honest with doing Christian music? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it talked about, you know, people's struggle with addiction and ups and downs, and the way we're human beings. We go through ups and downs and struggles. It's like, why do we got to pretend that life is always on a high? Because it's not for nobody. You know what I mean? And yeah, it taught me a lot. So my morals or anything didn't change. I was just like, I just want to write songs that I feel people go through or I'm going through, and I just want to be totally honest about it. And, you know, I mean, I consider myself obviously to be a Christian, but I would be sitting here lying to you saying if every day I wake up and I do a cartwheel and I'm like, I can't wait to pray and read the Bible. It's not like that every day. There are days where I wake up excited, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To read, but I don't feel like it every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not always happy every day. You know, there's you lose people. Things happen. Financially, stuff happens.
You're human.
We're human beings, and so I was like, you know, I don't want to put on this fake facade, and I feel like that, I'm not bashing everybody, but I feel like sometimes the Christian music industry can be the most fakest, because talk about being put in a box and you've got to pretend that your life is together. You know what I mean? That you make no mistakes, that everything's perfect, and it's just not like that. And, you know, I couldn't do it, you know.
I had a friend years ago. He was in a Christian rock band. They had, at the time, when I first met him, they had 6 albums out. The 7th was fixing to come out. And I listened to his music. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything about it. I watched the videos, you know, and I mean, he was a buddy of mine. We hung out, we worked together, we hung out together, stuff like that. And, you know, his persona on stage and his persona in front of a microphone or a camera was always, you know, top of the world, smiles, everything's going right all the time. But the man was dealing with some internal demons that they're pretty bad.
Right.
And he has his own way of dealing with things, and he dealt with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you say, you know, there'd be days he'd come to work and he would just, I could see the look on his face. It's like, you know what, whenever you want to talk, we can talk, but I'm going to let you, you know. And then some days he'd come into work and he's lit up, he's smiling ear to ear, and he immediately would come in the office and just say something crazy, and it's like, okay, this is going to be that kind of day, you know. And he at times would mention the same thing. He's like, you know, it feels like, and he wasn't just saying Christian music, he was saying music in general.
Sure.
It's like, you know, I'm signed with these different labels and they expect different things.
Right.
You know, when I say different labels, he would write over here and he would sing over here, and he did different things. I mean, he extremely talented in a bunch of areas. So he had different contracts, and it's like, you know, this one contract wants this constantly. This other one wants this. And then I need to figure out, you know, who I am in the middle of all this, because I feel like I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
But these contracts are making me money.
Right.
And for some reason, I feel like that's important now. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was like, oh, so we're going to have to sit down and have a conversation. But basically, I'm just going to be listening.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
Right.
You know, and I learned a lot about the music business through him, sitting in writers' rounds, sitting in the studio, you know, just hanging out with musicians, you know, the business people as well, you know. And of course, when I was doing the music videos, you hang out with the artists, the musician, the bands. And like you say, there's so much downtime, you know, in making that. And you get to know people. You get to see when an artist isn't in front of a camera or a bright light, you kind of see who they are, because they can be themselves at that moment, because nobody's asking anything of them. You know, and I've gained so much respect for certain artists who I worked with. I'm like, you're just a down-to-earth, cool person.
Sure, yeah.
And then when you're up on that stage in front of thousands of people, you got to put on a show, you know. And it almost seems like they're two different people, you know. And it's like, is that hard to deal with?
Right. Yeah.
You know. And do you feel that on stage you're somebody else, or are you the same person at home that you are on stage?
I think I'm the same person. I think on stage it's magnified, because again, I'm like, I want these people to have a good time. They spent hard money to get here. Because when I was on tour with Rehab, we toured with, and the bands I'm about to mention are not the ones I'm talking about, but you know, Puddle of Mud, Saliva, Flowrider. I mean, we toured with everybody. But you would see some bands, and none of those I mentioned are the ones I'm talking about, and they go to the green room or whatever, and they'd be like, yeah, man, I hate talking to fans. I'm like, that's a terrible thing to say, that the people that put you in the spot that you're in, you're ungrateful for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre to me. But I think that you're performing for an hour and a half, you can spend another hour hanging out with people, talking to people. That's, you know, $30 a ticket or $25 that's a lot of money. You know, and then they're, spending gas to get there. They're spending 5 to 6 hours of a day's work to come see you. Make it about them. It's not always about us. And that's what I try to do. I hope people have, fun, and it's a good time for everybody.
Well, do you feel when you write your music and when you perform, do you feel like when you look out in the audience that you can tell who's really vibing with you at the moment and who's just kind of there?
Sure.
Maybe waiting on the next band or waiting maybe on the next song. And
Yeah.
how do you internalize that while you're still?
I feel like so if you're an opening band, it is your job. It's not the people's job to love you. It's your job to make them. You've got this amount of time to make them love you or fall in love with your music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And essentially, that's what you're doing on stage. You're pouring your heart out, and either they're going to love you or they're not. You know what I mean? And if they don't, it's not their fault. It's your fault, And for instance, with Rehab, when we'd go out, it was this was the most annoying thing because Sitting at a Bar was their number one, song.
Yeah.
And we'd be on stage and we'd get about 2 songs in and you'd have some drunk guy, play Sitting at a Bar, play Sitting at a Bar. And it's like, dude, we're going to play it. It's going to get played, but just please let us get through this. And it's like, all right, we've got to keep these people until this song. And most of the times we had no problem, but ever so often you'd get that person because that's the only song they knew, it was a radio hit. And that's the only song they knew. And they came just to hear that song. But it's like, okay, we got to make them fall in love until this song hits. And so yeah, man, it's fun. Like I said, I love being on stage. I love laughing on stage. I love connecting with people on stage. And I hope that it's a roller coaster of happiness, sadness, fun. I want it to be a roller coaster on stage of different emotions, and I think we do that pretty well.
That's cool. Some of my favorite bands to see live are the bands that in between songs, when they're changing instruments or whatever the case may be, they'll engage with the audience. They tell jokes or
Yes.
They'll kind of poke fun at each other. And this one band I saw one time, it was a pretty intense change. Everybody's instruments except the bass player had to be changed. And they, the band, the bass player, because his instrument didn't change, he just kind of started doing his own thing. And the lead singer just kind of started talking. Then they kind of went into this yoga thing where they ended up laying on their backs. And he's talking in the mic, stage crews running around doing their thing. And the bass player has this stand-up bass laid across his stomach, laying down on stage. And he's keeping the cap. And then one of the stage guys, he did a signal. He just, kind of, and the lead singer saw it, so he kind of worked back through. He reversed what he did.
Yeah.
And the whole time he was talking and the bass player was playing, so it kept you engaged.
Right.
And I noticed when they got back into their next song, I still had a empty beer can in my hand. I'm like, I was going to go get a beer, but they kept me so engaged.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to wait till they change again.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was amazing. That was worth the money I paid right there because they kept me engaged.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a true artist.
Yeah.
Somebody who can keep you engaged, who can put you on a roller coaster of emotions. Sure. They have a sad song and it's coming, but you're pumped on the song they're singing now. But when they get in that sad song, you're like, man, I'm kind of feeling this right now.
Yeah.
And for me, when I look at the artist and I can tell they're feeling the song that they're singing,
Yeah.
I think that's a true artist,
Sure.
a true creative,
Yeah.
somebody who's emotionally tied into the song that they're
Not just
playing.
going through the motions of it. Yeah.
And do you think, as a writer and as a singer, and that you are more engaged with each song and you can express the song's emotion to the crowd a lot easier than if a group of writers hands you a song and you
Yeah.
go practice it and record it,
Yeah.
and then you guys sing it on tour? Do you feel that you do a better job than an artist who everything's handed to?
Yeah, I think so, because there's been a very few times where I've wrote a song, and during the process I've cried writing it. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
like, this song means a lot to me, and you hope it means a lot to other people. But I think that when you perform that live, it just comes out of you naturally. You know what I mean? Or even a fun song or a hype song, you just, at the time you wrote it, it means something to you. Now, there's times where I've written with different people, and we go back and forth, and we come up, and those mean too. But something about writing by yourself, it's just like that song meant everything to you at that time and place that you were at. And I think that's a powerful thing.
Do you think that even though maybe you wrote this song 4 years ago and you were going through something pretty rough at the time, and at that time that song meant the world to you, and it's gotten the feedback, over time.
Sure.
Well, now you've moved on, you're at a different stage in your life, your music may have taken a different turn, but the audience still wants to hear this song from back here. Maybe the song that, kicked it off for you.
Right.
But you're not feeling it at that moment.
Right.
When you start that song, can you go back and get that same emotion and
I think
deliver it?
I think sometimes, especially if the crowd, is wanting that song, or, you're getting ready to do it. There's a song that we do on tour. It's called Fonte, and I wrote it about two friends. One was in the military and came home a different person.
Yeah.
And he fights, depression and anxiety, all these things. He has PTSD. And then I got another friend that fights severe depression, and I wrote this song. And it don't matter where I do it at, it's like that song hits people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have never heard the song before, and when I do it, it hits people. And that's a good feeling, because you want your music to be people emotionally attached to it. You know what I mean? That's what there's songs that I can think about that just hit me when I hear them. For instance, what is that? You know what song I'm talking about? Brooks and Dunn. The little boy was friends with the neighbor, and the neighbor ended up passing away.
Ooh.
When you get a chance, go. I cry, dude. Like almost 90% of the time, I'll watch that video and listen to the song, and I cry. I can't think of the name of it right now.
I'm gonna have to go back and look.
But
this
dude,
up.
it's such a powerful song, and there's a few songs like that. But I think just music can put you in a place. I always make this joke, but it's true. If I'm feeling sad, for some reason I'll listen to music that'll make me sadder, like George Jones, or like some Merle Haggard songs. Like I'm like, why am I making myself? But I just sometimes I'm like, I want to listen to this and feel more sad, I guess. But yeah, George Jones can always make me feel a little more sad than I was before. But I enjoy his music, and I enjoy his sad songs more than I do the more upbeat ones. But yeah. I can just, there's on the way down to Florida, I just went to Florida recently, and I listened to. I had the discography of Johnny Cash, and I just listened to it the whole way to Florida. It's just something about Johnny Cash is just so soothing to me. It just, I don't know what it is, but it's just, I can listen to it all the time. I could listen to him all the time.
I agree with you there, and I've actually listened to, I'll go to Spotify. I'll ask my smart speaker, play Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And it can go for hours.
Yeah.
And hours. And sometimes I'll do that. I'm not in the mood for a certain thing, so I'll just say, you know what? This never fails.
Yeah.
Play Johnny Cash, and it'll start. And I think one night I sat down and I was like, what am I getting? Why do I keep doing this?
Yeah.
I've got to figure out. And I think with me, the reason I enjoy that is because to me, it seems he's 100% honest.
Yeah.
In every song.
Right.
And kind of got the attitude of, if you like it, I'm happy for you. If you don't listen to it.
Right. Yeah.
But for those that do enjoy the song, this is for them. This song's for me.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Try the next one.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like that's his attitude throughout his entire musical career was, I'm going to sing what appeals to me and what appeals to my audience. If you don't like it, you want to be a critic, okay, if that's what makes you happy.
Right.
He just kind of had the attitude of, I really don't care about your negativity.
Yeah.
And for me, I think especially his younger days when he was a little more rambunctious, and that's putting it lightly.
Right.
That's what I liked about him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm going to go up here and I'm playing for the people who want this. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, here's the middle finger. Yeah. And there's that picture that is all over everything. One of the bars downtown on the men's bathroom. That's how you know it's the men's bathroom.
Johnny Cash picture.
Yeah, Johnny Cash picture on the door with him flipping the finger, to the photographer.
Yeah.
And then just getting right back in it. It's like, that man's got he's up there emotionally just throwing up. Everything is just bleh.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. I like an artist that gets up there and puts their heart and soul into their performance. And when they walk off stage, they're just wiped out.
Yeah.
Because they left everything up there on stage.
Right.
And you as an artist, you as a writer, you as a singer, do you feel like you do that when you get up there on stage? Do you feel like when you walk off stage, you can say, you know what? I gave it 110%. It either hit or it didn't.
There's times where I know at the end of the night if I did or didn't, I try to always, but trust me, at the end, I know if I did or didn't. And it was the same way when I was with the band Rehab. I always say this, when we were on fire, and when we were off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, man, I try to just pour my heart out with my music and on stage. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm getting better, and I just want people to have a good time and forget everything that's going on in their life. You know what I mean? And just.
Well, do you get any kind of correspondence from fans, from, people you've never met, positive correspondence? Like, man, I didn't know who you were. I was waiting on this other band, but you know what? This certain song resonated with me, and, I'm going to start following you, or I'm going to start, all
the time. I'm almost happy when I go places where they don't know me. because I know by the time that set's over, they're going to know me, and I've gained new fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm that confident of the stage that I'm like, I'm going to gain people, you know. It's just going to happen. And so I had one of the biggest compliments I ever had was we played House of Blues one night, and one of the bands afterwards goes, I had no idea, you know, who you were, and I was blown away. He goes, the guy that does sound, he's from New York. I've known him forever. He's done a bunch of bands. He does not blow smoke, and he was blown away, you know, by y'all. And that was cool, you know, because we try to do what we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pour it out, and so that was a cool compliment.
Well, if you get those compliments and you had a billboard or two downtown, and you know you put on a show that you know you're going to gain fans no matter what, maybe not 50, 100,
Yeah.
but if you get 5 or 10 or 6, you know, whatever, you know at the end of each set that you've gained new fans.
Yeah.
Why can't you promote yourself off stage? Because you're promoting yourself on stage.
I know.
Why can't you do it off stage?
I think there's a thin line between humbleness and pride,
Okay.
and I don't know which one I have.
So you don't want to be prideful.
And I don't want to be so humble that it's like there's such a thin line in that. It's like, okay, how do I do this, balance this out without being, because I know myself when I do, I'm not coming off prideful. I know in my heart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like if you do something for someone, you like, I know in my heart I did that because I care. Whatever what everybody thinks, I know that was my intention.
Yeah.
So I know that I don't have the intention to be prideful, but I'm careful how I navigate that. I don't want to come off prideful, I guess, is my biggest
Fear.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Or do you know people that have to compliment themselves or want to be complimented constantly? You know anybody like that?
Oh, I know plenty of
Yeah.
people that they will do things to get some sort of recognition.
And they want to pull a compliment from you, and then you're like, okay, you know what I mean? I guess I'll, you know, this is what you want. But, and so I know people like that, and I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to brag on myself. And it's like, how do I do this? That's why I'm like, I'd love to have a manager or something that could do that part for me,
Yeah.
you know? And, but I'm blessed to be friends with a lot of people in the music industry, and we have this group that we don't blow smoke for no reason, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I know that I'm talented, and that's weird that I don't even like saying that, but it
Well,
is.
and
God's given me a gift, and I use it, and I'm proud of that part, but I just don't want to come off arrogant, or because I know so many artists that do, and I do not like it, you know? So that's where I'm at. It's such a thin line, I guess.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I know in today's, you know, world, and, you know, I'm finding this out for myself
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
I'm having to go out there and promote anything I do associated with this podcast. You know, I do beer shorts,
Yeah.
2 beers with a band shorts, where it's just an artist's song, and I do a beer review, and I'm trying to promote the beer as well as promote the artist, but I can't seem to find that fine balance where it seems like, okay, people are starting to resonate with
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have to go out there and promote myself so much on social media,
Yes.
which I can't stand.
Yes.
Because
You know, you understand.
I kind of feel like I'm looking at it from both sides.
Yes.
I'm looking at it from the person who says, this dude just needs to stop because he is just too much, he's coming too hard with this.
Yeah.
And then there's the person on the other side that's like, man, I kind of wish I saw something from you every day because you're not staying fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed with social media is that if you're not in somebody's face every day,
Yeah.
you're forgotten about. You're replaced real quick with someone who is in their face every day.
And if someone has a problem with that, I know this too. It's just like growing up. I got a family member that has a podcast. It's a murder mystery podcast.
Yeah.
And they had a close friend that told them they were doing too much. They were advertising too much. And it really hurt their feelings. And then what does the person that told them that do? They start a podcast about murder. So there's a lot of haters out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but it's like this. I'm assuming Dutch Brothers eventually wants to be the spot where Starbucks is, right? I mean, they'd be crazy not to. They want to be that marketing. So I try to think of myself with music is like, maybe you made a drink or a sandwich and you're like, I tasted it. I'm like, bro, this is the best sandwich I've ever tasted. You're like, I know. And we got a group of friends and everybody's like, bro, this is the best sandwich. Well, if it's just us trying it out, it's not the best sandwich. You've got to get it out there.
Right.
And then when America or the world decides, and it's just like this coffee, they're like, well, we want to be humble, so we're not going to really open up more stores. You know what I mean? It's like, that's dumb. I would tell them that's stupid. You got to open up more stores. So I try to relate that to myself. Like, bro, it's okay to share your music. It's okay to post your music. It's okay to tell people what things going on. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying too, as well. Yeah.
Well, I think, you as an artist, and you've devoted a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more money, a lot more ups and downs to your music than I have to this podcast. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of both.
Yeah.
And this is still, each podcast is something a little bit different. There's bugs that I have to work out.
Sure.
But, I'm still trying to promote it, and maybe I'm not getting the returns.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know I've got to find my niche. It's out there. I just got to find it.
Right.
And, self-promotion seems to be the only way that's going to happen because, even though I may get some comments like, man, I really enjoyed that. Blah, 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 this and that. If I'm not in that person's face constantly, that compliment was great, but they're going to move on to who's in their face delivering.
That is
every day.
The truth. And we're at a good spot right now because we can really market ourselves, like you said. Before, early 2000s, late 90s, you couldn't do, if it was a label or nothing. If you didn't have a label, you weren't getting to that next. But in today's time, you can do things. You can market yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. I lost my train of thought. The last thing you said was, what did you say? I can't believe it.
Well, it's basically self-promotion if you're not in somebody's
because you're right, because music is constantly coming out. Podcasts are constantly coming out
every day.
So do you think they care? No, they're going to say, all right, he don't want to do this, I'm going to do it. It's just like if you started I have a pressure washing business, and when you start off, you got to go door to door. You got to get, clients, customers. Yeah. If I was like, well, I don't want to go to this neighborhood, I went to this one, and then Tommy's like, I'll go to every door on this neighborhood. Who do you think's going to get more clients? Tommy is.
Yeah.
Because he's going to go to every door. And that's the way we have to be with our music and the podcast. We have to we have to be in people's face. I feel hypocritical because I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but I don't always do it. But you have to constantly be in someone's face with it. It's the truth.
Well, it is, and when I first started really looking into you, you had a hell of a footprint on YouTube compared to a lot of people that I know. And I was going through, I was like, there's one more video, there's one more video, there's a short, there's this, and it just, I'm like, okay, I did not expect this, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's got talent. He's not afraid to get out there in front of the camera. He's not afraid to get on the mic. He's not what I'm seeing in these videos is a guy who's confident in what he's putting out there.
Yeah.
So I say that to say, do you feel that you're as confident personally as what I see when I watch those videos?
Probably not, because in the back of my mind, like it probably looks confident because I love doing that. Like I don't know what else to do. I love it. But in the back of my mind, I do think if people are like, oh man, he's doing this too much, or he thinks it does play with me a little bit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, but it does. Or, oh, he's promoting this again, and I don't know why I let stuff like that bother me, because those people I don't care about anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are not people that are going to support me, that are not going to do. But sometimes, and maybe they're not at all. Maybe it's just something I'm thinking,
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get on people's nerves sharing this or this or this. But I think, too, that on Facebook, if I see something a lot that I don't like, okay, just unfriend them or don't watch it. You know what I mean? So I do know what you're saying. I really appreciate this conversation because I do know what I need to do and what ultimately I have to do.
Well, I guess I've asked those questions because I feel like as a consumer, I feel like you're not out there enough. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have the talent and the ability to be further along than you are, I think, as a consumer. Mm-hmm. I'm not with a label. I'm not in the industry. I'm just Joe Blow out there consuming.
Yeah.
And, it seems like with the indie artist, they all kind of have the same thing. It's like they know they're talented and they know what they need to do, but at the same time, they feel like, well, that's not my strong suit, and I don't want to pursue that because I really don't know anything about it. And it's kind of like they hit a wall.
Yeah.
And they keep hitting that same wall with each new song.
Right.
It brings them to that same point, and then it's just...
I'll give you an example with the community I'm in. A lot of my friends, some are signed to a label, some are on a way another level independently than I'm talking about, way, high up. And they'll be like, why have you ever asked to do a song with me? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't want to bother nobody. They're like, what's wrong with you, dude? You know what I mean? And they're like, of course we would do a song with you. I'm like, yeah, I just didn't want to ever bother you about it. And they're like, dude, that's dumb. I'm going to tell you this story. A few people know this. So I got close with DMX. You know who DMX is, right? And I didn't let everybody know. I didn't make it a big thing. And people that did know were like, dude, ask him to do a song with you, a feature. And I was like, that's not really why I'm friends with him. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get something out of this. Just, and they're like, bro, are you insane? Like, like this could change, but I never did. He ended up passing away. But I don't know, man. I hate asking for favors, dude, I guess, in a way. And I guess I'm scared. And that's what I was talking about with humbleness or pride. Is my pride scared that they're going to say no? Or like, you know what I mean?
Or if they say yes, is it going to be, okay, well, I'm going to do this
Yeah.
and that's it? Or, okay, maybe this person is in my orbit because this is what they want and
Yeah.
they're not truly friends with me.
Right.
And I can see how you would say, this person might feel that I'm using our
Sure.
friendship
Yeah.
for my own gain.
Yeah.
But it's the sad thing is the entertainment industry, period, music, movies, television. That's kind of the way it is.
It is. And I've had, there's been people that have sent me songs that are like, hey, would you get on this? And I'm very honest. I'm like, this just isn't what like this music doesn't work for me or this, and I'm okay with if people told me the same thing, but I don't know why I don't ask. My friends tell me that all the time. And I just recently asked an artist that's pretty high level and he was like, yeah, man, of course. And I'm like, why didn't I ask sooner? I don't know. It's just, I guess, maybe I didn't want my pride to get hurt if they said no. I don't know,
Well, what I've learned in doing this podcast is that, and I knew this going in, you're going to talk to people face to face and you're going to vibe. Everything's cool. They want your contact information. Sure. And they're like, man, let me hit you up in a couple of days. I got this going right now, so on and so forth. You give them a week, you give them 2 weeks, you don't hear from them.
Yeah.
You hit them up, via text, via instant messenger, whatever. And time passes and it's like you're just ghosted, and it does hurt.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought we had something, and they were talking about, man, let me do this. And if things work out, I can bring you so many people, so, then, it kind of builds up that confidence. And then all of a sudden that balloon's popped.
Yeah.
And I sit back and I'm kind of like, no, I know this industry is this way.
Yes.
This person was all on board with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And then when they got home, they kind of checked it out. And then they're kind of like, I don't see any benefit for me to spend my time doing this.
Right.
So I'm going to concentrate over here where doors are starting to open for me.
Right.
And I think, I kind of feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
You do make friends with people and you don't want to harm that friendship by asking for a favor.
Right. I'd rather be your friend if that's going to mess up a thing. But how I got into the band Rehab was I asked Danny, the lead singer, one night, hey, would you do a song with me? And he goes, of course. And then a year and a half down the road, I'm in the band Rehab touring. You know what I mean? So things happen when you ask two. You never know. But yeah, man, it's I do got to do more. I do got to push myself more and get over my, I guess, pride.
Well, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I know what this podcast could be and what it should be, and I'm working towards that, but every day's a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge I enjoy. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
And I feel like I have to hit a certain level for other people to promote me for me. And I can concentrate more on talking to artists, lining up artists, and just doing the things I need to focus on, the creative aspect,
right,
and let someone else, word of mouth, get, promote me.
right.
But it's just, like you say, it's difficult to ask for that. And, you know, I don't want to be one that looks back and say, you know what, I was sitting there with such and such artist that has a massive fan base. Yeah. And I thought it was a great interview. And, you know, I hit them up a few times after the interview and they're like, man, blah, 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 this and that. Then I get ghosted.
Yeah.
You know what? After I've been ghosted, man, hit them up one more time and then walk away. You know what? I've done everything within my power to use. I'm not going to say use. I've done everything within my power to promote myself down that road. Yeah. Well, that road came to a dead end. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to keep banging my head against that wall when there's other roads sitting out here in front of me.
And too, with that, like, you never know what someone's going through, either you know, the artist or maybe they're something exciting happened and they get texting, but they're not really studying that. You know, they're, you know what I mean? And then they're like down the road, like, oh crap, I didn't even see these, you know, messages. But I think you got a cool thing going on, and it's different, and you're very well spoken, and you seem to genuinely love music, which is a big plus for what you're doing.
Oh, I love music, and I've said in other podcasts, I have TVs at the house that aren't even hooked up.
Yeah.
I work 2 jobs, but when I'm home, man, the radio's on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even have cable going to those TVs because I'm never there.
Right.
I would rather listen to the radio.
Yeah.
I would rather listen to podcasts than to sit down and watch TV because I'll just sit there for hours staring at the screen. And I know myself, I will do that. Yeah. And I'm not learning by doing that.
Right.
Listening to the radio, listening to different stations, different music, you know, I'm learning something.
Yeah.
An artist takes an instrument and plays it this unique way, or an artist blends different genres of music, and it's like, man, that's new. I like it.
Yeah.
I like where they're going. I like what they're doing. Then all of a sudden, what little free time I have, I have a direction. I have something to do that for me is not a waste of time. Time for me is precious. Downtime is precious.
Yeah.
And I don't want to waste it by sitting in front of a TV when I can turn on the radio and do other things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can focus on, man, I heard this song the other day. Let me stop and listen to it.
Yeah.
And then you see what that artist or that writer is putting out there, and you're like, I like that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what music is. Music is always evolving.
Right.
And, you know, listening to your music, I can see your different influences in your music. And I'm like, that's interesting how he was able to pull from these completely different artists.
Right.
Combine that and make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And if those artists were able to listen to his music, what would they say?
Right. Yeah.
They're like, okay, I had influence on him, but man, he's way out here in left field from what I do.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think those artists would think about your music? Would you?
I hope they would like it.
Well, I mean, if you were able to talk to Johnny Cash and say, you know what, man, you have such influence over my music, or if you were able to sit down with Johnny Cash right now and have a couple of Dutch Brothers coffees, what would the conversation be like? Because you have enough time to drink 2 coffees with Johnny Cash and talk about anything in the world.
Yeah.
What would you talk about in however limited time it takes to drink 2 of those?
First, I would just tell him how much his music, you know, helped me and inspired me in ways, because when you listen to his music, it's not the best songwriting in the world. He had he had one, Chicken in Black, right? That's not going to be but a lot of it was storytelling. He wasn't the best singer in the world, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
Merle Haggard, George Jones, to me, their voice is like, but something about him just resonates, And so, yeah, I would talk about music and God probably is what I would be, the conversation I would have.
Well, I think that you both share, and that's one of the things I like about you the most is that you do have this rebellious side in your music, but at the same time, you can tell, or at least for me, this is just my perception. You have this rebellious side that you know where you stand on certain issues, but at the same time, there is a greater power that is always front and center.
Sure, yeah.
And you're not going to be this perfect being because no one is.
Yeah.
But you're going to do the best you can with the situations at hand. And your music and Johnny Cash have that same thing in common. And that's why I like your music, because I'm a Johnny Cash fan as well. And I can see, when I read the bio before I listened to some songs, I was like, okay, this is a interesting group of folks. And then when I listened to some of the other songs, I was like, oh, I can see those influences now. And that made me appreciate your music that much more, because I can see those influences and I can see how you've taken those completely different genres, put them together, but stayed with your core values throughout each one of the songs. And for me, as a consumer, it's like, man, that takes talent to be able to combine somewhat rebellious music, but put a positive spin on those different genres and make that work. To me, that's talent.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons I really wanted to sit down with you. I kind of wanted to dig deep into, who you are and how you make that work.
That was very well put. Thank you for actually saying it the way you did. I feel like sometimes, obviously if you've sat with me for a little bit, you know that I'm a Christian, and I feel like sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because they're like, oh, wait, you're a Christian artist. This is a country festival. And it's like, well, hold on. I'm doing country music. And then you go, there's a Christian festival, and they're like, oh, yeah, you do country music. You know what I mean? It's like...
yeah, they're trying to put you in a box.
Yeah, and it's like it never stops. And there's... songs that I've written and people are like, yeah, I don't understand that. It's like, that's okay. It's not for you to understand. This is me. This is my expression of life. This is what I'm going through at this time. And this is what I'm putting out. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. That's okay. You know what I mean?
But it will resonate with someone.
But someone it will resonate with. And do you ever watch live shows? Like old concert footage and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So I liked his music, okay, but I watched his live performance. It is Billy Joel, and it was when he's over in another country. The war's going on, and it's called The Bridge to. I can't remember the name of it. The Bridge to something. You got to watch this. So Billy Joel's pop, pop music. He puts on the best performance I've ever seen in my life, ever. I watch this in awe, like often, with just my jaw. I'm just like sitting there, like, you've got to watch this, dude. I'll text you when I figure the name of the concert he did.
Okay.
he put on, he's pop, but he's putting on a rock concert. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Dude, it is like the most incredible thing ever. And it made me I collect vinyl, at certain artists.
Yeah.
And it just started making me collect vinyl. Nothing hits me as much as that live performance, but the vinyl's still great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's different ways that artists connect to people. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a live show, maybe it's this or that. But however, you connect in different ways to artists. With Johnny Cash, it's his music. I've seen his live shows. His live shows don't do as much as his music does for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Billy Joel, that live show is insane. Like, insane, dude. Like, I'm telling you, I had our guitar player. I was like, bro, come over. You got to come watch this. And maybe he wasn't as amazed as I was, but I just sat there in awe of Billy Joel. And I'm like, dude, this is just incredible. And, Hall and Oates. I like listening to Hall and Oates. I got to meet them one time. Hall was not very cool to me, but Oates was cool. Hall's the tall one.
One of them lives here in Nashville.
Okay.
I can't. Oh.
It's probably Hall.
I
don't know.
I feel bad that I brought that up, and I don't know who it is. But one of them lives here in Nashville, and apparently is, I think, fixing to release maybe a new album.
Okay.
I think I've heard rumors
Yeah.
about it, but when I was younger, I enjoyed Hall & Oates music because I found different sounds.
Dude, yes.
But they it's a old song that they redid. You Lost That Loving Feeling.
Yeah.
I personally think their version is the absolute best version I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And generally, I'm one that, okay, people will cover a song. Yeah, they put their own spin on it. Okay, that's cool. It's good for what they were doing.
Yeah.
But man, you can't mess with the classic.
Yeah.
But their version, I'm gonna have to say, personally, that's my favorite. And a lot of people say, "Oh, that's just wrong. That's just wrong." It's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm a consumer.
Right.
You don't have to agree with me.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what I love about music is that every single person can have a completely different opinion about every single thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
100 people could like your music and 5 people could say, "Oh, it's the worst thing I've ever heard."
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not for you. It's
Right.
for the 100 people that do enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll
give you an example of that. There's a group called Outlaw Nation. I don't know if you've heard of them. Independent,
I've heard that
totally
name.
independent artists. They wrote a song called "Welcome to My House" or "Welcome," something like that. Anyways, I was just scanning through Facebook the other day, and a part of it came on, and somebody made a comment that was near me. "Oh, I don't like that." And I went to their YouTube because the song blew up, and I said, "Well, 172 million people did like it."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I said, so that's the beautiful thing about music. 172 million views on a 7-minute song in today's time is insane. Insane.
For a 7-minute song.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 But it was funny. That person was like, "I don't really like that." And I was like, well, 172 million people did. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing about music is you don't have to like it. It's our taste. And shout out to those guys that are killing it. Phenomenal. And you never know. Like that song probably will take care of them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
It just wrote a song and it just caught fire. But yeah, I like Simon and Garfunkel. I like Hall & Oates. I like Sublime. I love just different kinds of music. I love, some days I'm in the mood, I want to listen to Hank Jr.,
Yeah, I've had those days, especially when I was younger. I had those days.
And then some days I want to listen to just whatever. But music is it's really an awesome thing, and it can it's powerful. Music is powerful.
I agree. I think music is more powerful than anything else
Yeah.
as far as entertainment goes. And I stand behind that statement 100%. And
Yeah.
there are people that'll disagree, but when you break it down, say, okay, maybe you disagree with that statement. That's fine.
Yeah.
You say movies are the most powerful because they make the most money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guess what? Well, maybe not the younger folks, but you and I, we have CDs, cassettes from years and years and years and years ago.
Mm.
And we may just be like, oh, I hadn't seen this CD in a while.
Yeah.
Man, let me throw it in and check it out. How many years have passed since that CD was made?
Yeah.
And that CD, listening to it, will bring some memories back, will bring emotions back,
Yeah.
and then it takes you back, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term,
Yeah.
where maybe you don't even realize it. And that same person that just said, oh, music isn't that powerful, they just found this CD or
Yeah.
this, and they put it on, and they went through all those same things again. Or maybe they tied new emotions
Yeah.
to these songs. And now that song kind of moves up in their playlist, but they don't see it that way because they're not emotionally tied to the song. Maybe that's not a fair statement, but that's, for lack of a better term, that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not emotionally tied to the song because they don't think about it like that.
Right.
Because they got today's society, today's young folks especially, have so much going on.
Yeah.
That maybe they don't have time to say, I really enjoyed finding that song that I hadn't heard in 5 years.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 where they have to keep moving on to the next thing because that's where society is going.
Well, and two, I think, like, let's say that there was a song about when I was young, I rode my bicycle around to the neighborhood. We would fight other kids. This generation they don't know about riding a bicycle to the neighborhoods. So it's like they don't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like growing up, like I love 50s doo-wop. Like I really love 50s music. I love doo-wop, but I love more like Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can still listen to those songs, and a lot of those songs are so still relatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this generation is like, what? I woke up and stared at my phone for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I feel bad in a way for these generations coming up because it's so just boom, 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 boom. But it's all done. It's not real life almost. You know what I mean? It's all.
Well, do you feel like when you sing or when you write, do you feel like you might be able to resonate with those people, or do you feel like, you know what, I'm gonna talk to the people who understand my music, who have lived through this I hate to say it, but our generation. Do you feel like your music could resonate with a generation that does? Their lives are completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. I say this because like I used to, man, I loved hip hop music, but I didn't leave hip hop. Hip hop left me. Like this new generation, I don't even understand. But country music, I still do. It's just like hip hop took a weird,
Turn.
Yeah, very strange to me. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But I feel like country music is still writing songs that are relatable, that you go through breakups, ups and downs, this and that. And so I just try to write stuff from my heart. Or sometimes I'm at the store in line at Walmart. I'm always listening to people, not being I just hear conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go home and write about these two people in front of me talking about something, and it's just the way I do. It's just my mind thinks like that sometimes.
Well, do you ever have those moments? And I think it's an interesting question where you've just hit a wall and nothing is resonating, and you feel like, I need to get something out. I need something fresh. I need something new. I need to be able to, turn that creative light on. I feel that I need to do that, but I just can't find anything. And you'll sit down and you'll start writing, crumble it, and like the movies show, you crumble it up and throw it over here, and they have their little song playing, and they keep focusing back on the pile of papers that's getting bigger, and then you hit that one creative thing. And I mean that probably happens, but that's not real life when you're writing music.
No, usually if I'm having a hard time or I've been in a slump, I just go for a long ride in my truck.
Yeah.
And, that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we need to take a quick intermission, and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right, so while they're at intermission, I figured I'd come in here and introduce myself. My name is Harkos, and I not only edited this podcast, but I have my own podcast called Music Making Sense Podcast, where it's all about music marketing, branding, and how to have success, real success, as an independent artist. Every single week, I drop a brand new episode giving deep insights and tips and tricks on how to grow your fan base in a real, sustainable way as an independent artist, without having to sign to any label where they try to make you conform, without having to worry about trying to get on these scam playlists or deal with bots online. I'm talking about real sustainable growth by finding real fans who rock with you and your music and what you're about. And that's what I bring every single week in an official podcast episode over on Music Making Sense Podcast. And then I also have a Wednesday night live stream where I go live and hang out with every single one of y'all playing your music, as well as a bunch of other independent artists, music from all genres. So if you are an artist and you want to get some more information on how to grow your fan base in a real sustainable way, or you just want to have your music played and sit back and hang out with some other people who like listening to great music from a lot of independent artists who are hardworking and who love the craft, make sure you check out Music Making Sense Podcast. That's available on all streaming platforms. Wherever you want to listen to a podcast or watch it, you can check it out over at musicmakingsensepod.com for all the links and details. The link is down in the description of this video, but it's also Music Making Sense, CENTS, as in money, pod.com, Music Making Sense Podcast on every single platform. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to this episode because I think they're about ready to come in right now. So I got to get out of here.
All right, guys, we're back from intermission, and we need to start wrapping this up. But before we wrap this up, I want to ask you this. You've done a lot of interviews. You've done podcasts. You've been out there doing the thing. But I know every person, no matter what, has two questions that they wish someone would ask them that no one ever does. So I'm asking you, what are two questions that you would like to be asked that no one has ever asked you? And of course, what are the answers?
That's a good question in itself. Probably it's a simple question, but it don't get asked a lot. what inspires you to keep doing music?
Oh, okay.
You know,
All right.
and I think it's if you have that that passion, I feel like you're almost born with it, and you can't stop. No matter success, no success, whatever, you cannot stop. It's in you. The lyrics, the music, it just comes out. You can't help it. It's a way of expressing yourself. And yeah, so that is a great question. And another one would be, let me think about this. You got me on that one. The other one would be, why don't you drink?
Okay, okay, answer it please, but the reason I don't ask that is because maybe that's a little too personal
Yeah.
for people, and I don't. That obviously this podcast is Two Beers with
Yeah.
a Band, and there are people that don't drink, and I respect that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a good question. That
I'll tell you why is that I've learned that I cannot do anything in moderation. Some people can. I don't eat in moderation. If there's 4 pieces of cake, I'm gonna eat 4 pieces of cake. If there's if I play a video game, I'm gonna play for hours. Like I don't do anything in moderation. So from a young age, I learned that, and I was like, all right, I probably don't need to do at least A, B, and C. And that was just one of the things because I knew that I couldn't do. I just can't do anything in moderation.
okay, all right. Well, that's fair. Also, since you have such a unique group of artists as your inspiration, top 5 albums, and I get obviously the artist.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna throw a little extra one in there just because I love Christmas music, but it's so hard to narrow it down to one artist.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Christmas music, but the Billy Joel "Bridge to Russia" is the one I was talking about. Listen, even the album is phenomenal. Okay, Billy
Okay.
Joel "Bridge to Russia," Struggle Jennings "Return of the Outlaw" is an incredible album. Sublime 40 Ounces to Freedom. I love that. Is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Struggle Jennings, Return of the Outlaw, Billy Joel, Bridge to Russia, 40 Ounces of Freedom by Sublime, Christmas music, and then my favorite album of all time is Johnny Cash, Live at San Quentin.
Really?
Yeah.
Out of all the albums Johnny Cash put out, that was your favorite?
That's it, dude. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, and, to each his own. I think based on, the music you sing, that wouldn't be your top album. But, hey.
Dude, are you crazy? That album is like it's Johnny Cash all in one. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, personally, it's not my favorite, but you're the one that is the creator, the
Dude,
artist.
no way, dude. That's it.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I ask a question, I got an answer. So, to each his own. But all right. Is there anything coming up that you want your fans to look forward to?
Yes, I've got a song. And remember, I told you at the beginning. There's been a few times I've wrote a song where I've cried. This is one of them. It's called "Red Letters in a Chevy." It's coming out soon. I don't have an exact date yet, but I am. It's done. It's finished. I'm just trying to figure out how to promote it the right way. So what I've been doing is sending it out to a lot of reactors.
Yeah.
Hence how we ended up meeting.
Yeah.
And So I'm sitting out, it's been a great response, and I'm just deciding how I'm going to put it out. And then I've got 4 other songs behind that I'm so proud of, and I'm just getting ready to release those. I'm just trying to figure out a marketing plan of how to do this the right way.
Okay, if you were gonna put your music out on social media, or you wanted your fans to be able to connect with you, where can they go to connect with you or to listen to your music or even purchase your music?
Yeah. So Jericho Stone 615 is where you can find anything you're looking at for me. And if you order like from Facebook or Instagram, if you want to order merchandise, t-shirts, CDs, hats, whatever you want. And the reason I don't have a site set up specifically for that, where a company is shipping those out.
Yeah.
Anyone that orders a shirt from me, I write you a letter. It's not something I Xerox off. I write you a handwritten letter.
Really?
And personalize that, because you're taking time to order from me. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to write you a letter and thank you for it. And I always send something extra in there. It's something weird, but you would get it if you know me. And so I personally ship those myself. I bag them. Nobody's doing that for me. And I write you a letter, a note. And I just want to tell you that if you support me in any way, shape, form, fashion, I appreciate you more than you will ever understand. And if you order anything from me, it comes directly from me, and I will get it to you ASAP. But yeah, Jericho Stone 615. Check out my YouTube, my Spotify. It's Jericho Stone, and just listen to those songs on Spotify on repeat. Listen to them all night long.
Right. All right, guys. So this has been another interview with Jericho. Well, not another interview with Jericho Stone, but this is another episode of Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, Chris Shrum. I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I have. I hope maybe you learned something about either the industry or about Jericho or about music in general that maybe you didn't know before you clicked on. So this is Two Beers with the Band signing off. Cheers.
I need a sponsorship by Lonnie.
Right? And Dutch Brothers,
yes,
right?
And Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers.
I don't play the lotto, but my number's still here. My 22 and 45 got 8 in the clip. There's a rash on my trigger, and it's starting to itch. So you better pay attention to the signs on my fence. If you come on my property, you bound to get shot. Got no problem with the law, but we ain't calling no cops. If you try pulling up, you know that ain't going down. Last thing that you'll hear is my...
That is, please do. I appreciate that. And, the fact that it seemed like you just laid it all out there, and your heart and your soul feeling everything. And that's really what I'm looking for in this thing that I'm doing. I want the artist to be able to just, and I felt like you did.
I know you probably have. Take a picture of this room and remember this room, because it's going to outgrow this room one day.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, but
it will. And
when this outgrows this room, this wall is going to be in whatever studio I have, because this wall, every day when I walk in here, and on those days when I'm just kind of like, you know what? Why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I've invested a lot of money into this.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily getting and I asked you earlier, I'm not getting the clicks, I'm
Yeah.
not getting the views that I think I should. But at the same time, when I open that door and when I walk in here and I see this wall, I'm like, you know what? I remember every time I sit down at this table, each and every single
Yeah.
one of these interviews,
Yeah.
and how much damn fun
Yeah.
I had.
Right.
That's worth the money I'm
That's
spending.
it. That's it, dude.
And you know that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
So even when this grows big enough that I need a real studio, this wall is going to be in that studio,
Yeah.
and I'm going to continue each and every person I interview. You're going to have to sign something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I can look at it and remember, you know what, I remember that day that I talked to this person.
Yeah.
And the way I felt before the interview, the way I felt during the interview.
Yeah.
And then when I clicked all the cameras and recorders off, and I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
I hope that's as good as I think it was.